Good morning or afternoon, whenever this is that you see it. I apologize in advance. My office chair is creaky and annoying. All right, so we're showing here as my first real presentation in a while. Pardon me. Uh, First of all, I'm Kella. Hi. I'm not fully well versed in the publishing side of things and accomplished there, but I do play around with AI a lot. So I'm going to try to explain how I've been experimenting with creating a new pen name from scratch. You'll see I started up here. I've worked on some existing projects just to poke around and see what it can do. Um, and what I did with this pen name up here is what I'm going to show you how to start from scratch in this video. In the prompts that I've shared in the server uh, on Discord, and I will provide the link if you contact me and ask, you can make a copy of your own in your own documents on Google Drive. They're mostly backboned off of Jess's Codex prompts working with Claude. I adjusted them to work with Antigravity. There's some specific wording changes to set it up for working in a folder structure, which I'm going to show you how to set up in Antigravity when you start. And it's very simple. You really need to do very little. Um, so let's get started. Please don't comment on how many tabs I have open in Chrome. I do know. All right. So we're going to start by opening a workspace. You open a new workspace. And from here, we're going to go to, if you have a specific folder for like author folder or something that you have, that you want to select that. But since I don't have an author folder on this drive set up, I'm just going to select the root drive and it will create that for me. So we're going to go over to the prompts that I have set up, if I can remember my own organization. So if you don't know the pen name you want to create, this would be a good prompt to edit. Just add what genres, themes, elements. God, I'm going to turn this off. What in the blue fucking hell? Disable on this website. Goodbye. All right. To start a new pen name, genre, subgenres, themes, elements, and then commonly include, commonly used tropes. Now, I did a little pre-research. I cheated a little bit and started early on ChatGPT, and I did a little full research report. And we discussed, I argued with it, and we went back and forth. It tried to get me to do Mafia. I don't want to do Mafia. Curvy Girl was something it really recommended, so I said, hey, I like that, and I also like supernatural paranormal, and somebody was talking to me about getting into breeding kink, and a guy that I was talking to was saying, hey, if you write this breeding kink stuff, I'd really be into reading it. So that's catnip for me, and that's the direction I'm going. So I've told it, this is what I want. What pen names can you suggest? Because I just figure it'll be easier if I set it up with one. So I've got a pen name. I've gone with Devin Calder, and I've edited one of those prompts for myself. So here it is. And that will be if you know the pen name. If your pen name is known, that'll be this part of the prompt. So just edit it for whatever you want. Let it know specifically if you're going for rapid release, because when you do marketing, it will be looking at how to make the most profit from that rapid release. And then when all the folders are set up where you want them. So let's pause here. So do you trust the authors of the files? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Hello. Okay. I work with Claude 4.5 Sonnet. I prefer it. So we've pasted that prompt there. If you have any concept art, this would be a good time to attach it right here as images, or I haven't really had great results trying to drag it into the box, so there's that. And then you just send it. And you accept when it asks to run command, because when I installed Antigravity, I gave it back-end access to my system to automatically run programs, which is very handy because it can automatically write files into folder structures. And And you can see what it's doing if you go to a folder, like a browser. There's Devin Calder. And there's the folders it's set up. And once we start stories, if the prompts do what I told them to, all those story folders will show up there. Whoop, go back there. Okay. This part takes a little bit of time. I'm going to open it in Editor because for me, that tells me this I was not expecting. What Git is it trying to run? Oh, Java Development Kit. Yes, that's fine. I will get that later. Not doing that now. All right. Bug off. All right, so there's Devin Calder. And here's the books that we're going to set up here. Our branding kit's right here. This is where it gives you a checklist, and it's going to go down the checklist if you choose to create a conversation later to invest more time into developing this. Brand assets. Yeah, so it's going to go down the list, and it's still generating. So, oh, it's working on Pro for this part, I think. I had thought I'd set it to 4.5 Sonnet. I've noticed that sometimes it does change models as it needs them to complete certain tasks. So, like, 4.5 Sonnet is there for the development and the story building and the writing and whatnot. But then we have instances where it will switch to Gemini it will switch to Gemini because it's Antigravity. Because it'll need to do back-end coding or hot swapping around files or directly create media files to your hard drive, and it needs its coding tools built into Antigravity to do it. So sometimes I have to manually go back and switch it if I am doing development work right after a prompt that requires it to dig into my back-end. And there are safety guardrails that you can set in settings here that help with that. So, security and all that you can set to make sure what's trusted, what's not trusted. I am not an updated security expert. I used to be, but it's been a long time, so we will not be going into that today. This thing. Sorry, there's a recording widget over my window and I can't move it. That's fun. Let's go back to brand guidelines. How do we do that? There. Okay. So these are the brand guidelines where it goes into detail what colors. So for Devin Calder, it's decided I'm going to be doing crimson, shadow, gold, white with these secondary colors. It's decided those go well together. You can adjust it before you continue. I'm going to say that's fine. I'm going to say it knows what it's talking about. And over here, we're generating visual brand assets. A couple days ago, when I did this for the other pen name, I had a case where I blew through my Nano Banana credits really fast because I'm only on the Pro. I'm not on the ultimate level of Gemini on the back end for AI support through Google. I just went middle of the road on it. So it caps me out. I'm not quite sure how many I get per day, but it is a daily refresh, so that's not too terrible. I can usually I think I got all 5 covers out before it capped on Gemini. And when it caps on one model on Antigravity, you can usually bop it over to a different one to get a little bit more time. So when I ran out of credits through Antigravity on Sonnet 4.5, and since they're not API keyed, you can have an individual use of Claude through Antigravity separate from your own package that you have directly with Claude. Um, Once I was through the credits on that for the day, I switched over to Gemini 3, which I don't like as much for story development. I don't think it's as good. It definitely did some wacky things with a book I'd already been working on. But you can do that, so. Oh, it needs me to accept something. So, yeah, that's something you'll have to keep an eye on when you're working in Antigravity, is occasionally scrolling up and down this dialogue window and making sure there's nothing that needs you to accept it before it can continue. Because you'll be sitting there twiddling your thumbs for 20 minutes and it's waiting on you to say, yes, do the thing. And because you did not click to do the thing, it neglects to do the thing. Ah, these are nice. Okay. So there's a palette that it gives you for your branding. There's an example of it used. It gives you little mood board things, a pattern for your website kit, stuff like that. Ooh, I could use that for book covers. Okay, so it's giving me a kind of a elevated fantasy. What did I code it for? Explicit, spicy, curvy girl, reverse harem, breeding king, paranormal romance. Dark paranormal romance. Okay, so that's where it's going with it. Got it. Letting it have all the accepts it wants. Going over here, making sure it's making the files. Logos. These are pretty simple. I might ask it in a future conversation to develop something more. Well, it gives me something to start with, I guess. Okay, so it hasn't made assets for any of these. But it has set up all the structures, which is nice. Alright. Okay. So what's it giving me here? So that's pretty nice. So you could use that as a template when you generate future marketing stuff. What's this one? Okay. Here's a mood board. Ooh, Reagan. Anyway. I like that. And I could take these and directly pop them right onto Pinterest. Okay, I saw an accept in there. Where is it? There it is. Ah, found you. It's like playing whack-a-mole. So, you gotta keep on top of them. Make sure you get all your assets generated. If you miss a button, you'll miss a few. Here's another template it's made. I like that. That's really nice. Okay. Well, there's another brand. I like that. That's pretty. Okay, I can dig it. Any others? What's this? Okay, so mobile-sized promo. Haha, clever. Okay, that's pretty cool. Very nice. Oh, there it is. Nice. See, these are cool. Okay. And because I am crap at newsletters, I tweaked the prompt to have it set that up for me automatically. It is set to give me a 90-day schedule. You will be the first to see whether or not that works. Okay. Oh, there's another one. There's a newsletter welcome graphic. Newsletter header. Ah, button. Ooh. And I also had it give, graphics kits without the fonts on them, so that's somewhere. Though the way this one's created, I can always just clip it. Use this part. Or, this part right here. And you can always argue with it later in a separate conversation and say, look, take these graphics and make similar stuff without the fonts. Alright, let's run in the background. Alright. Seasonal content, automation setup. It gives you checklists. Ah, it started designing the merch. But here's the website. Nice. That is not me, but I'll take it. Alright. There's more website assets. Okay. Nice. Here's the newsletter posts. Radio magnet strategies, voice guidelines. Gives a lot of cool information. Sample subject lines to choose from. Brand strategy. Comp authors, differentiation strategies, content pillars, taglines for merch, okay. Any others I need to bop? Doesn't look like it. It's still shows you the file structure, which you can find yourself here. Tells you where to find everything you need. It wrote a lot. So launch checklists. This is where it gives itself a little fluff and estimates its own value of what it's just given you. Alright, good luck with Devin Calder. Alright, so now we move on to the next one. I will start a new conversation and go over here to working in the books folder. We're going to select that. Oh, well, yeah, we're going to select it. Wait a minute, because I think I just... I feel like I did something redundant. One moment, please hold. I think it's here. Nope, it would be cover design. Okay. Okay, we're gonna wait to do that. Before we copy, I caught a doo-doo. Alright. This is redundant because it's gonna do it later. Boop! Alright, so now we're gonna do the thing. Let me go back to Antigravity. Paste. I'm gonna, oh, caught myself. 4.5. Come on, stupid. It won't do the thing. Alright. It's not going to change. Well, that's an oops. Alright, screw it. We'll just work in Gemini 3 today. And other outtakes. So we're now brainstorming the story concepts. Supposed to be creating the things in the books folder. See if it does it. Okay. Run the command. There it goes. Leviathan's Wake, Keepers of Black Crag, Sanguine Debt, Bramble and Bone, and Iron Seraphs. Cool. Ren, Sorcha. Well, we've gotten Alara, folks. Okay. Maybe we'll keep it. We don't know. Kaya and Alara. So it still raised a middle finger at me as far as AI naming. But we can fix that later. Okay. So they've each got their own little folders. No files yet. Now when I'm talking about editing your own master list, open with text editor. One would think that would work. Clearly we're still buggy. So we're going to go into the folders, go into books, and we're going to open it with Notepad++. What I'm going to do, Kaya, and replace, well, what do we think? We think it's a bio ship, so it's an airlock. But, oh, and we've also got a Kalen, a Vex, and a Silas. So we're going to do some quick find and replace here. We'll do that one. We're done with Elodie, Kalen. Place with here's where I might just cheat. Give it my genre. Let's run it past GPT. Elodie, well, we'll keep Elodie. Ribbon, Corvex, Nixar. Merrick. Sure, we'll do Merrick. Where's Vex? Find you, Vex. Okay, we've lost Vex. There's Vex. Silas is Yves. And we're moving on. Nessa. Well, I don't like Nessa. We will keep Maeve. Um, Halric. Fuck it, whatever. Okay. Then Meyer. Whatever. Mirren. I like that better. Boop. And then Sanguine Debt. Hey, Alara. We're gonna be Marla. Valerius. Cassian. Why are we going for... Nope. Fuck it. Ivan. Kale. Wouldn't be a good story without a Kale. Riker. I like Riker. We'll keep Riker. Riker has a right to live. Okay. Sorcha. I like. We'll keep Alaric. Thorn. We'll do that one. Frost. Nope. King of the Hunt. Okay. That's done. Save that. Just Control S. And now we're back to Antigravity. Alright, so I'm not going to start the new series concepts. I've edited the and you'll notice below we're back to Claude Sonnet. Great. Alright, so now I've set it up saying I've edited the series concepts master list. Update yourself on the changes I've made. And it's going to use that moving forward into this next prompt, which is over here. So we're done fiddling with it like I just showed you. So we're going to copy this part. Okay. Wait a minute. Key requirements. Create neat character development guidelines, character lists. Is this the whole matrix? Yep. Okay, so I made a boo-boo. Going too far. I should probably label these better. Concept and premise. Okay. Ah! That's why it went too fast and I lost myself. So there's dividing lines. That's why I stopped myself there. Okay. So we're back to this. In that prompt. Paste it in there. And away we go. Find and replace all crash became Alaric. Always proof your work. Thank you, Antigravity. Saving me from myself again. Monstrous anatomy and tentacles. Okay. Eldritch entities with a breeding kink. This is gonna be unhinged. Alright. Hold my beer, Ruby Dixon. Warlords bonded to Marla. Okay. Reversed power. So she's commanding 3 warlords. I can't wait to see how this turns out. And they're vampires. That's going to be great. Okay. And we've got the final 2 documents there. Okay. Leviathan's Wake, Reverse Harem. Elodie never wanted to be special as a thick-thighed hull technician. Okay, so we're going to workshop it. Okay. Waiting on the other 2 documents before we proceed. There they are. So now that we've got those, I'm going to check these over and make sure they're still unique. 3 Fae Kings. Okay. Iron Seraphs, the Angels Descended. Interesting. Okay. So, she woke 3 demons, and now they think she's their goddess. In a world ruled by tyrannical angels, Ren survives in the rust wastes by scavenging old world tech. Ren. Who the fuck is Ren? Did I keep Ren? We'll keep Ren. Okay. They're obsessed with protecting her. She's the reincarnated Prime Commander and breeding a nanite hybrid army before their systems fail. She must navigate angelic wrath, AI obsession, and her own growing feelings for 3 terrifying machines. I don't know why I find it so funny. Maybe you do too, but that's going to be a fun one to work on. Let's find out how that turns out. Alright, so we've got all those files. That seems good. Why do I keep going to that one? Nope. Here we go. Concept and premise information. We are going to make the character lists. There we go. For each story, do not use character names across stories. Each story should have unique. Okay. I forgot to edit this prompt. Do not use. Okay, so I'm not going to do a list. I'm just going to remove that part here. Okay, but now I kind of want to read this book. The more I'm sitting here reading this Hook and Bitch, the more I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is bizarre, but I'm kind of into it. Ren's curves are ideal for breeding protocols. Okay. Oh, AI. Right, so the license week. Elodie Vasquez. Okay, so not only is it reverse harem, but it's also an age gap. She's 29 and he's actually 47. Okay. And he's 43. Man, these guys have got good programming. Actually, in their 40s and 50s appear 20 years younger. I'd like some of that. Yuki Sato. Darius Kane, how are ya? I've seen you around. Zara Okonkwo. Yeah. I'm gonna have to edit this character list a little bit. Petra Volkov, because we needed a Russian. Tomas Rivera. Henrik Larsson. Marcus Webb, how are ya? Okay, Elena Vasquez. Dear Lord. Yeah. So, here's where, while it's still working in the background, I'm going to go here into where is it? There it is. Notepad++. Yep. Alright, so Elodie Vasquez. Well, we're gonna do this. Here, hang on. Back over to GPT. To Antigravity. View all changes I've made to each story's character lists and update your working knowledge to prevent future. I always give it an instruction to look at the changes that I've made to the documents that it makes for me, because otherwise it will take what it thinks it knows about it and run with it. So now we're in story development. I'm going to take out that don't use AI aims. Okay. Um, Alright, so now we're going to send that off. So it's almost done. It's moving on to the story development for each book now that it's done the setting and the world building. I was wrong about it doing werewolves, by the way. It seems to have done everything but. We have vampires, but not werewolves, which is actually kind of refreshing. I don't hate on the Omegaverse concept, but I'm kind of over it at the same time. Now it's starting to streamline the story development. So now I'm going to nudge it along to finish fleshing out the story development files. Once again, it got lost and used Helena Voss. So, because I edited the character lists, those are my anchor files. So, I've told it for each story, examine the story development document, compare it against the character list in that folder to make sure the names are consistent. The character list is the anchor file. Make any changes necessary within each story's development file to ensure naming consistency within all files in each story's folder. Alright, there's another. It's probably screwed up names too. No. Looks like that one stayed pretty much on track. But you have to check each file because you'll wind up in a situation otherwise where you'll get 15 chapters into each book and realize that it's like yo-yoing the character names back and forth because it's confused. So that's why we're going to poke it in the butt with this prompt as soon as it stops generating the finished files. I'll tell it to go through, do a quality check, and correct any names that are out of alignment from the character list. Now, I'm going to tell it to fix itself. Okay. Says it's waiting. What is it waiting on? Ah, there it is. Okay, so we're done with that one. This one. So now we're on to... I already skipped through and did story development. Next, outline. So for each story in this pen name folder, we're going to do this. Is there anything I need to edit? Okay. I am not going to do an epilogue because I want my series to be hooked. Oh, I just thought of a prompt to add to this process. One moment. The boys are going into heat. Okay. Don't question the process. Just see what sells. Her marshals are there. Pregnant and powerful. Oh, they did an epilogue anyway. Welp. Well, that could be good for bonus material. Whatever. the fraud arrives. Okay, so sometimes it does this thing where it summarizes to help you preserve tokens. So it did a full one for Leviathan's Wake, but Keepers of Black Crag, it's summarized. So once again, I'm going to have to poke it in the butt when it's done. Alright. So then, it completely summarized this one. So I know what I'm going to do. So now we're going to say, we're going to take the good one, Leviathan's Wake as a template, go through each story's individual outline and expand accordingly. Be as fully realized with each other story's outline as Leviathan's Wake, and pause for my confirmation between stories to avoid clipping outline for efficiency's sake. Okay, so we're going to accept all those, and then we're going to do this. So what I'm going to do with the outline, where is that? I could use this, Kella. Well, there we go. I'm going to have a lot of video editing to do later. Anyway, I'm going to pause recording here since there's going to be a lot of cleanup done and it's going to take a few minutes. We'll come back to it when it's all done with this step. This is the part where sometimes it'll do this thing and completely summarize. Like right here, it did great detailed work for the outline, but then it's like, oh, I'm gonna err on the side of caution and go super summarized. And for a couple of them, it went completely terse with it, absolute bare minimum. And so what I'm having it do is I'm using Leviathan's Wake, the first couple of chapters, as the template for it. And I'm going through and just having it out. So, I said use Leviathan's Wake as the template. You didn't outline it comprehensively. Use the first couple of chapters and stop uber summarizing everything. Pause between stories, but completely outline. And beginning with Sanguine Debt. That's what it's doing. It went to summary mode on the last few chapters of Keepers of Blackcrag, but I'm not too worried about that. It's got enough in the first few chapters setting it up that it'll be more or less fine with that. Iron Seraphs is completely summarized, so I'm going to go through that with a fine-tooth comb here in a minute. Sanguine Debt, though, it's working on. So it's expanding each chapter. And here, because I've noticed that the final chapter of every outline says, oh, where is it? Forever Forward. We've had that in multiple books. I told it to go through each story and make sure each chapter title has a unique and plot-relevant title. Each story has multiple occurrences of overlapping and shared chapter titles, and all final chapters are the same. Also change any overly optimistic / stereotypically sterile endings. I want tense and gripping cliffhanger endings for every story, which compel readers to want to read the next book in the series. So now it's doing that. So this is going to run for a few more minutes, but I have Dungeons and Dragons to get to, so I will resume this recording and piece it all together and video edit it all smoothly for a complete experience once I am done. See you in a few. Okay, so D&D is over and we're back on it. So I left off at 2.5 hours into the project. I worked a little bit on the bickering with the AI. You can see over here where I just made sure it anchored all the names and all the summaries to what was established in previous documents, because it got a little confused and you got to kind of nudge it back into place a little bit. But for the most part, everything's well set up. So now we're going to go back over... Don't pretend you didn't see anything there. Here. So now... it stops right there. Okay. Going back into Antigravity. So now we're going to start a new chat. And for each story, using all of the document files, and it's going to create an individual writing style sheet and an individual writing team for each story with the overall brand in mind. And there I'm just nudging it to also include the social media, newsletter, and branding kit information it worked up. And off we go. So now I have a writing style guide. Oh, I'm going to pause while it does the rest of the writing guides, because you're just basically sitting here quietly with me. And again, I do appear that I forgot about starting the marketing. Derp. So I included marketing in that prompt. So I had to nudge it and say continue. But it gave me my marketing documents at the same time. That's nice. And it gave a marketing team for each. This one's focused on Fae romance and White Shoes dynamics. This one's focused on sci-fi romance. And it's currently working on the others. Okay, so each story has a writing style guide, marketing and hooks, and targeting and keywords, because I accidentally copied and pasted 2 prompts at once, proving that you can, in fact, do that. Yay, accidental success. So now, making sure that I only do one prompt, we're going to go ahead and do the bonus assets. So, sorry for any snoring sounds, that would be my dog. Alright, bonus content. And complete the following prompt for each story in its own folder. Accept. Oh, stop it. Sometimes the whack-a-mole moves faster in the scroll than you can catch up to. Ah. Alright. So bonus content gives us some options. That's the bonus content document. Is there anything in here? Nope. Hasn't created any visual documentation or any images. But that's okay. If I want to push that button later, I can. And I can use this document to do it. Pausing while this works. I'm just hitting the accept all buttons. Don't forget to hit those blue buttons when they pop up. And now we are creating the visual assets. There's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure how she's curvy, but we'll see. Okay, so what's this one? Mood boards for each dude. She's pretty happy for waking the demons, and that's not very demonic looking. But we'll see. Yep, that's how I'd look if I was told the chosen one was dead. Well, the graphics are kind of nifty. There, that's plus sized. Yeah, that's a queen. Wonder if they let her keep the makeup when they sent her into the cattle call. Because there's no Art of War blood games without chess. Yeah, she's not very plus sized either. They must be going by Hollywood standards. Okay, more moving blue buttons. Damn it, hold still. Stop it! For the love of God. Alright, when it's quite done, thank you. No kidding. There we go. And another. And another. Okay, so we are at about 3 hours into this project all told so far. And look at how much we've gotten done for 5 books and full branding with marketing. Now that we've done the bonus content, popping back over here. And I like to do a final quality check. So here's the prompt I use. And I start a new conversation. And I remember where I'm going. There we go. So, start a new conversation. Paste in the final check prompt. And let it run. Okay, now we've got the first analysis. It did not save it to the directory anywhere that I can tell, which means it's just in working knowledge. So what we're going to do So now it's applying the editorial fixes suggested by this. Okay. Now it's given me an option. It's done the first 2 books. Do I want to complete full analysis and then applied fixes for all 3, which is a comprehensive approach? Do you want a streamlined analysis with critical issues only, which is much faster? I'm pausing in between sections to shorten the video length a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead with the comprehensive. Less work for me to do on the back end later. I'm having it do final checks on details. And it offered me a priority 3, would mean polish optional, not what it deems unnecessary but nice to haves. And since I'm taking my time with it, so to speak, we're only at about 3.5 hours in. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay. So now it's done all the outline updates. Writing team set up. There we go. So now we're going to go back to the prompts. So if you want to make sure that you're really focusing on details and that everything doesn't get confused, because when I first did this experiment yesterday, it started confusing details between stories. So I have since refined the prompt. But still, if you want to do one at a time in a new conversation, always a new conversation when you're starting chapter generation, so much the better. But if you're like me and feeling daredevilish, this is the prompt you're going to go with. And what it will do is work in a loop for an iteration, and in each iteration will go systematically through all 5 stories and pull those chapter relevant documents like the outline and story development, the world building and all that. And now that you have refined it through the writing team, it will, did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. It will, new conversation. Can't talk and do things at the same time. We're going to do chapter 1. So we're going on that story for the remainder of the prompt loop. And then down here, put it in well, it should say put it into drafts. Oh, there it is. A subfolder called drafts. There we go. That way it's easier to see. Boop. And here we go. So at 3.5 hours of work, we're just now getting to chapter generation. So it's made an implementation plan where what it plans to do for each chapter. And I've told it to continue. I had told it to be in a draft subfolder. Okay, so there we are for the first chapter of Bramble and Bone. And looks like it's adhering to everything it's set up. Doesn't have an overly optimistic ending. The other thing I don't like is it didn't auto sort into a drafts subfolder, but that's purely an organizational aesthetic bitch on my part. I can always do a quick command afterward, after this, and direct it to save all future chapters in the drafts folder if I want to. So it's going to pop up chapter by chapter as it finishes with each story. And we'll come back when it's done with all 5. So now we have more chapters. This one uses Oh Hell like this one uses Oh Hell. So doing a quick skim to see how else it's similar. Overly flowery optimistic endings. So we're going to accept all the chapters. Alright. So it's going to go through all of those chapters and fix that shit. Okay. So that's done. All the chapters seem pretty unique. No overly optimistic bullshit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and... Nope. Go back to that prompt. And continue. Now it's making the draft subfolder. Missed it the first time, did ya? So we'll go back and move those chapter 1s to the draft subfolder later. It paused after the first story, asked me how I wanted to continue, so I said draft each remaining chapter one at a time, pausing for confirmation between each. And that's hopefully to avoid it, preemptively shortening the chapters, which it has a tendency to do if it's worried about your token length. Like, see, this one's not 200 lines, it's only 170 or so. So that might require fleshing out, because that does not seem like a 3,000, 3,500 word file. This one's a little longer. That's not a bad opening line. That is, of course, the correct response. Alright. Okay, so now we have individual chapter 2s. I've gone through them all. They look in unique fashion. There's Leviathan's Wake, Sanguine Debt, Keepers of Black Crag, and Bramble Moon, Iron Seraphs. Okay, so now I'm going to do what I should have done, or what it should have done. Okay, move all Chapter 1 files to their respective drafts subfolders. There we go. So that's tidied up. And now we're going to do Chapter 3. So far we are about 4 hours and change into this project. Okay, so at this point, I could continue to do it across all the books because it's doing a good job uh, covering each one while making it unique. There are certain overly optimistic sorts of endings, but I can screen those out in future editorial passes. What I'm going to do next, though, is I'm going to tweak this chapter generation prompt to focus specifically on one story. I've decided I'm going to go with Sanguine Debt. Sanguine Debt, I feel like I could market. Okay, so we're going to keep going with Sanguine Debt. Okay, complete the following prompt in a subfolder called Drafts. Recall chapters. All remaining chapters from the project knowledge outline for Penguin Debt. Once complete, pause. Until the story outline is complete. Now I'm going to copy and paste that, copy that rather to memory in case I need it. Boop! Because now we are 4.5 hours in almost. Alright, so we're at about 4.5 hours in, and we've got 11 chapters. 3 chapters in every book, but now that I've focused on Sanguine Debt, 11 chapters, working on chapter 12. So at just over 4.5 hours in, we've got full story development for 5 novels, each starting their own cliffhanger-ish series. We've got marketing and development and all that, and newsletter launch and website kit stuff, and we've got 43,000 words in Sanguine Debt so far. Okay, so it does this periodically. It's like, oh no, the tokens. So it's thinking we're at 49,000 words. I'll have to go into Atticus, lay it all out to be sure, but generally speaking, it's at least probably 30 to 35,000 words, if not the full 49. Continue drafting one at a time with pauses in between. Yeah, we're going to do that. Now it did this thing where it covered the beats in chapter 16 at the end of chapter 15, and so now it's confusing itself and it's trying to draft chapter 17. We're going to see chapter 16 here. Alright, make sure they lived. We unleashed hell. Okay. So it did correct 16. Good. So we've gotten through Act 2, and once again it's doing the oh no's, the tokens thing, where it's pausing to give me a summary dump and ask for further instructions. So it says we're at 59.5 thousand, and the main story arc is done. We have about 15 left. I'm going to go one at a time. Again, I've also noticed the overly optimistic endings. We'll do it together as a family. And that's going to get nipped during the editing pass that we'll do soon here. Another thing it did is, oh, I'm not dying, he wrote weakly. Yeah, when I'm laying with a mortal wound, I often think of, you know, instructing people via pen and paper, even if I'm mute. So, we're going to do sign language, and I'm going to instruct it with that in the editorial pass. So, here we go. Also, it's saying bonded pairs a lot, but there's like 3 dudes lining up for this lady, and pairs doesn't quite cover it. So we're going to fix that too. It tried to feed me a summary of the chapters, and I have to stop it and say, no, draft each chapter at full length according to the outline and develop mental arc. And then I had to yell at it. Do not do it with efficiency in mind. And it tried to do another summary at chapter 26. So I said, fuck you, and don't do a summary, continue drafting according to the outline. It's trying to do efficiently again, so I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm going to paste the chapter generation. And add Kella can spell. Yeah, these chapters are too short. So the editorial team will take a whack at those when I go through. And I've run into the time gating thing where it says, you've used this model too much, how dare you? And I have used it quite a lot today. So I'm going to have to either wait until 9:38. That's 2.5 hours away. Select another model. I don't generally like using Flash or Pro, but for the purposes of getting it drafted, and then I can do a wording voice pass on it with the editorial team once I get ungated. It's doing that efficiency thing again. So I'm going to have to paste this prompt in again. Because it's not too bad, but still at about 234 lines. So now, what's it done for chapter 31? Ooh, that's not terrible. 346. Okay, maybe not. And it's still working. So we've got about 3 chapters left for the book. And then we're going to run an editorial doodad on it. Oh, she has twins now. How lovely. Okay. So this woman has 3 kids now and is about ready to go tear up a battlefield. Strong FMC, eat your heart out. Vampire joke. Womp, womp, womp. We've got an offender. They were together and that was all that mattered. Such vampire. Much angst. Okay. So it says that we have finished the book. And as you can tell, it was pretty well structured and good in the bones, but we've got some work to do. So now we're going to open a new conversation, and we're going to do this. Okay, so what I just told it was run a rigorous and thorough publication readiness pass with the writing team, which you've already set up. And we're going to do it, make sure we specify be ruthless in your edit or addition recommendations. Ensure that all developmental and character arcs have logical tension and payoffs. Make sure the romance in the reverse harem / explicit scenes are to genre expectations and fully / realistically realized. Do a full and ruthless dialogue pass with line level recommendations and examples for correction / replacement. I want the dialogue to be voicey and distinct, memorable, and quote worthy on Book Talk. Provide a full editorial analysis and recommendation document or set of documents as needed in the edits folder. Oh, and provide alternate endings to the... Alright. Consult all branding kit documentation and story development documents for this book as necessary to complete this prompt. Okay. And we're dealing with... Yeah, his name's Enoch, right? I'm not being silly. Yeah, Enoch, okay. Change it to an ancient empiric sort of sign language. Boop. So now it's going to do its editorial pass. And we are at almost 5.5 hours into this project. Okay, and now we have the documents. Let's see what they have to say. Alternate endings. This is what I was picking up. Domestic bliss and sitcom banter. Flagged what I needed it to. Okay, so that's recommendations for the endings. Red pen alert. Needs 30% more grit, 50% less sass, and 100% more blood and lust. Monsters become puppies too fast, which I agree. That's what I was picking up. Kavis is the name of the sign language. Okay. Enoch sign language. And that is correct. It's clumsy and kills pacing. Was the writing device was. So via Kavis, an ancient dead battle language from the first era vampires. I like that a lot better. Not like ASL, more like tactical signals mixed with intricate finger play. He said finger play. Okay. Anyway. So now... Okay. Using the writing team and all available editing documents in the edits folder, apply all recommended changes to the chapters, going systematically... Oh, chapters in the drafts folder, comma... Going systematically from chapter 1 to chapter 34, pausing for confirmation before continuing from one chapter to the next in order. Confirm with story development and outline documents in parallel with the editing recommendation documents to make sure you do not stray too far from the intended story. Be complete and comprehensive in all responses per chapter, and do not sacrifice word count in favor of efficiency. The rule for this conversation is efficiency bad. See if that does it. Okay, so we're going to go chapter by chapter here. So I caught something in its editing where it said Ivan Cross instead of Ivan Volkov. And that was... Anything else? Okay. Here it's given me a choice after chapter 4. Do I skip? Or do I continue linearly? I'm going to continue linearly. Option number 2. Okay, now it recommended we jump ahead to the end of the book. We're now 5.5 hours into this project, and we're about halfway through the edits. So it's jumping back and forth on the priorities list. When it's editing, it will often ask for your approval before it's done with the edits. So it asked for my approval on this, and then it did it. So you just got to approve it and then fight with it later if you have to. But for the most part, it seems to be doing okay. Yes. This one, it says, remove the sex scene. It happens too early. Move it later. So we're going to move to chapter 8, see what it changes. It's not that explicit. We'll have to amp that up on a future pass. It's all very... It promised 5 heat, and it's done maybe 2.5. So when we put that spice back in, we're going to have to make sure it actually spices. It's not doing the thing. Tisk. This one I stopped it before we proceeded because the end of chapter 12 is too similar to the end of chapter 9. So we're going to have that fixed before we continue. This one I told it to remove the duplicate sentence and it's crossed out, but I'll have to do that in edit post when I'm laying it out in Atticus. And Gemini has a habit of dramatically shortening chapters, so I told it so, and now it's going back and fleshing them out before we continue. 6 hours in, and we're almost done with the editing. We're at about 2/3 of the way through, I think. Well, half. Okay, so it says it's completed the drafting, including with the epilogue, which I did not ask for, but okay. Everything looks fine. Well, no, that looks a little short. That's fine. Chapter 31, chapter 32, chapter 33, chapter 34 has become an epilogue. Okay. Let that one flesh it out. So now we're at 6.5 hours in. Okay, now that it's done that, I'm going to have it do a spicy scene and heat pacing. Okay, so now I've got the spice and heat level analysis. I was correct, it rises 2 flames. Alright. So we ran into a thing where it told me the edits were there. I went in and there's no sexy scenes. And it's really short. So I told it and now we're trying to fix it. Once again, it tried to give me a closed knees approach to intimacy, and I said that's not nearly explicit enough. So it's like, okay. Okay, so now it's spiced the spicy scenes. I'm going to have it do another pass just to make sure they are all worded properly. Okay, it's done with that last edit pass for voice consistency, and now we're doing something that I noticed with the vampires and the sex scenes. And that pass is done. So now, I'm going to go and lay it out in Atticus, but before I do, I'm going to start another conversation, and I'm going to click on, where is it? Marketing Assets and Covers. And I'm going to go over here. It's on Gemini 3 Pro. Read the cover prompts and all branding and pen name documentation to create genre. Oh. One click by cover as expected by the best selling examples of the genre. And audio book cover for Sanguine Debt. It's going through the branding assets and the strategy, the color palettes, and this aesthetic for Marla. Premium, high contrast, dark paranormal, romance book cover with the Blood Quartz series. Ooh, okay, so this is the audiobook version apparently. Well, she went from being white to black, and I don't have a problem with that at all, but now I need to do a sensitivity pass if I'm keeping it like that, because her aesthetic board has her one ethnicity, and I need to check the character list because I like that version. Black hair, tight braids. Okay, cool. That is correct. Marla Quinn. I like it. It works. It read it properly, and I was in too much of a hurry and was incorrect. So here we go. Welp. Okay, so that audiobook is Sanguine Debt cover. Pretty sure I got that right. If not, I can always expand it in Photoshop, but at least the dimensions will be correct. That's not correct. I mean, that's a nice, nifty new variant. I do enjoy. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. Once again, we've beefed it. Oh, Antigravity, you're hit or miss. It was doing really well. I'm getting great audiobook covers. Well, I'm not going to fight with it in this conversation. Let's try it in another. Still having our issues. Oh, Antigravity. I'll just have to fix you another way. So, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I might have beefed it when I asked it to do audiobook at all. So, on the next book I do, maybe just leave that one off. Anyway, so there's that. I'm going to do a new conversation because there's something I overlooked. Okay, so now I'm making a pen name author photo. And we are just after 7 hours in. So we've got the full book, we've got the beginnings of 5 other books, or 4 other books rather, a full pen name, branding kit, social media, and marketing with hooks. And we're gonna look. Oh, hey, there I am. I actually kind of like that. Kept. Alright, so where does that save at? Save it in the branding kit brand assets subfolder. There I am. And now I have an author photo. I want 2 other options just in case. Because I'm greedy. I do not enjoy this one. This one is not a great one. No. Dislike that one. We'll get rid of that one. I kind of look like Adam Driver. Wow. I look like I'm about to write. And it even gave me my roots. Nice. Thank you. Didn't miss the nose. Okay. And this one, I kind of like that one. So using that one. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Ah. And then we're going to do that for a little bit. Okay, so it can't do that. I ran into image generation limits. But you see what I can do in general. Those are all the options it gave me. I can refine them in the future when my image generation gating unlocks. But for now, one last thing we can do before I'm ready to start laying it out in Atticus, at which point I will see whether or not its predictions on the word count are remotely accurate. What am I doing? Oh. And since I've run into a image generation limit, when it needs to make assets, it'll probably just put little placeholders for make assets for this. And then I can tell it to run another pass in this conversation for any image generations that it has missed once the tokens are freed back up. I really like how it did my hair. That turned out better than it did in real life when I took that photo. Okay. So now we have Launch This Book. And in here we have the ARC Team Guide. Create a Google form. Post the form link. Okay. Launch checklists. Newsletter 0 to hero. Ooh. So it's recommending I use MailerLite. These are the emails to send. Social media action plan. Alright. Well, I enjoy this. This is good. We have a full launch prep. If you're doing social media, don't worry about... Oh, okay. You have a branding kit. Don't reinvent the wheel. Copy paste as your friend. Go back to the launch checklists. Okay. So it's recommending I use existing media assets. I'm going to have it create me some more and have it put in the media marketing folder, whatever. But for now, pending token release, this is a decent start. This from start to finish, including any pauses, took 7.5 hours. From zero to fully realized, branded, and social media launch ready platform, whatever pen name, in a new genre, with 5 concepts fully fleshed out. The first few chapters in each, the first 3 chapters in each definitely done. One of them completely fleshed out, start to finish, with several editing passes done. Now it just needs human eyes. While I'm laying it out, I'll do an editing pass during the formatting in Atticus and see if it needs further revision then. But it seemed pretty decent for just push-click stuff. And now you know. Enjoy the Antigravity. Let me know if you need help. Oh, and I feel embarrassed saying this, but I am currently facing several utility shutoffs. So if you found this video useful as any sort of course or whatever, I don't know how to market this kind of content yet, so I'll put up a tip jar link where if you feel like you can contribute whatever you feel it was worth, please do. Obviously, I put it up with free on spec, but, pay what you feel it's valued, if you can. If not, seriously, no hard feelings, but I would like to keep my electricity on by the end of the week. So, thank you. Enjoy.